most part. Can you give me a status report? I guess that means we're stuck until batteries are charged. Well, on the bright side, it wouldn't be the first time. Any idea where we are? Well, there's only one thing left to do while we wait. This game's not going to review itself. What is there to say that hasn't already been said about this game? Everyone has already bashed it to hell and back. Hell, to many people, this is the game that almost killed Sonic. And yeah, it's fair to believe that this game is a mess. Now, let's get started with the story. And man, where do I begin? Seriously, I don't know. Much like the other games I've done for this marathon so far, multiple stories intertwine with one into a larger, overarching plot. But even then, I'm not 100% sure where to begin. Good idea. Let's start with Sonic. And I'm not kidding. Sonic, the main character and the one that the game is named after, is the character with the least amount of plot relevance in this game. Hell, his story starts with a realistic looking girl on a boat in some kind of festival. If you didn't know any better, you'd think this is a Final Fantasy game. That's not to say these cutscenes look particularly bad, it just doesn't look like a Sonic game. Anyway, this character is Princess Elise, and the festival is for the god of this kingdom? It's weird. As she lights a, frankly, nice looking flame decoration thing, the boat she is on is attacked by Eggman, who is also sporting a more realistic design. Now, people gave this design some crap during the time of release, but after seeing Jim Carrey's Eggman design, I feel this design is fine. Hell, like I said earlier, these cutscenes, at least the pre-rendered ones, look good. That being said, the in-game cutscenes don't. They look like, well, they look like the movie Food Fight, and you should never look like Food Fight. Elise herself is such a nothing character. Now, I know people joked about Sonic saving a princess in this game, but frankly, I don't think him saving a princess, or anyone in particular, is a problem. It's the way they handled it that is a problem. Pretty much every time she gets kidnapped in this story, the second Sonic turns his back, she gets kidnapped again. At least in a Mario game, when Bowser kidnaps Peach, she's only kidnapped once per game. Elise is kidnapped 5 times just in Sonic's story. All she does is just sit and clasp her hands together, and she's the ruler of this kingdom. And if this is what the ruler of a kingdom does, then I feel sorry for the people of Soliana. Hell, the guards don't do anything of use while their princess is missing. They just play guessing games with random people. I wonder if it's sort of like England, where the royal family doesn't really do much except for be a pretty public figure, where the real leader is the prime minister, I guess. Maybe it's something like that. Anyway, after Eggman kidnaps Discount Peach, she tosses Sonic one of the Chaos Emeralds. No idea how she got it or how long she would have had it, but Sonic grabs it and says he'll try and save her, only to end up waiting until the next day to do anything. At least when he did this in Sonic Adventure, it was believable to assume that Chaos was defeated. He doesn't even spend the night trying to get info on Eggman. He just waits to the next day. And the next morning, he meets up with Tails before running through a beach in hopes of catching up with Eggman. You know what would have helped with that? Chasing him the night prior. He doesn't even catch up with Eggman. He gets away and Sonic has to go through a different stage just to figure out where Eggman is hiding, which turns out to be a desert. Once failing to actually save the princess, Sonic ends up running around Soliana trying to get information just to figure out where Eggman can be, which, like I said, was in a desert. Once defeating one of Eggman's giant mechs, Sonic takes Elise back to the city while Tails distracts Eggy's bots. Unfortunately, once back in Soliana, Sonic gets attacked by Silver and Elise is almost immediately captured by Eggman. I'll talk about Silver more when I get to the other stories, but for now, he's just kind of here. It's not really explained. To be fair, Silver fights Sonic because he thinks Sonic is some sort of Iblis Trigger or a weird villain, and as far as he knows, he did just kidnap the princess. We know he didn't, but Silver doesn't. I mean, it's not a great excuse, but it's there. After getting knocked around, Amy jumps in and stops Silver, giving Sonic enough time to get away from this crazy hedgehog. Eventually, Sonic meets up with Knuckles, who tells him that Eggman wants to meet him somewhere. Tails immediately knows it's a trap, but they all end up going anyway. Once there, Eggman forces them to give the Chaos Emerald that they have in return for the princess, only to use the emerald to send them through time. You would think that they would have figured this out beforehand, but... Anyway, something that I find interesting about this is the reason that Eggman is trying to get the Flames of Disaster is actually for this time machine, seeing as it's just a prototype. In fact, he doesn't even know where he sent Sonic, just that he sent him through time. If I had to guess, a full version of this time machine would allow him to travel to specific points in time. Just food for thought, especially as someone who has dealt with time travel in his time. That pun was not intended, and I am so very sorry. Anyway, the place where Sonic and his gang arrive is a far distant future. I think it's supposed to be 200 years, but I don't know if it was confirmed. Also, strangely enough, Shadow and Rouge are here, and they explain the situation to Sonic and his friends, saying that they were sent to a far post-apocalyptic future. Somehow they figure out that using Shadow's chaos control, they could travel back to their own time. I don't even fully know how that would work, but if I had to guess, it's because chaos control is sort of a way for the user to slow down time around them to make it look like they're moving faster, so two people using it at the same time can open a rift through time. Either way, we need to get 2 Chaos Emeralds to leave this post-apocalyptic hellscape, so Shadow goes to get one and Sonic gets the other. After fighting a weird demonic worm thing and leaving said hellscape, Tails, Sonic, and Knuckles all arrive back in Soliana about a week after Eggman sent them to the future. I guess time travel with the Chaos Emeralds isn't exact. Which would explain why Eggman sent them to a random place in time as opposed to a specific place. Unfortunately now, Sonic has to chase a moving train before it runs into different series of bombs because Elise is on the train and is being controlled by Eggman. I hate this stage because you have to race against the clock just to stop the train from hitting those bombs. And even if you get past that, you have to deal with one of the more annoying Mach speed sections in the game as Sonic runs after the train while dodging other trains. It's just not fun. After that annoying ass stage, Sonic runs off with Elise, only to be attacked by Silver again, causing her to be kidnapped by Eggman not 5 minutes after us rescuing her. At least Sonic immediately saves her again, but that just makes me wonder why Silver even attacked Sonic from a story standpoint. I get that he still doesn't trust Sonic, but even then, this scene does not need to exist. The only reason I can explain why it's here is to give an explanation as to why Sonic suddenly fights another Eggman boss, but even then, there are better ways to write a scene like this. Once finally back at the castle, Eggman threatens just to nuke the entire kingdom if Elise doesn't surrender to him. And because no one in this game really has two brain cells to rub together, she of course surrenders, which for some reason results in Tails going through Wave Ocean again to follow Eggman just to figure out where he's going. Why is it every time we've done this stage, we just end up back where we started? I swear, it's almost as if Sonic Team wanted to make a remake of the opening stage of Sonic Adventure, but forgot what actually made that stage enjoyable to people in the first place. And, of course, we still have to follow Eggman through a different stage anyway, so we successfully waste our time doing this stage. Tails could have easily just done this off screen. Once he catches up to Sonic and explains what happened, Sonic is required to do a series of trials before he is able to follow Eggman again, because the old castle that he has to run through is blocked. As annoying as these trials are, I can understand this from a world-building standpoint. I mean, it could be a common tourist attraction, and with someone like Eggman threatening to destroy the kingdom, I believe them wanting to make sure someone doesn't destroy the landmark. And they probably just don't fully trust Sonic, even though he did rescue Princess Elise like 7 times at this point. That doesn't stop these trials from pissing me off. One of the trials requires you to jump through multiple warp portals to find a gold ring. If you don't already know where to go or have a guide on you, you can end up spending longer here than you'd want, probably upwards to 20 minutes. It just pisses me off, but at least this one is tolerable. After that, you have to defeat every enemy in an area without any rings. If you get hit once, you'll have to redo the entire trial again, and if you die enough times to this trial, you'll have to do the first one over again. It's such a pain in the ass that it really makes me wonder why this is a required mission. After that, you have a laughable trial of love, which just requires you to choose your favorite Sonic ship. At least this is easy, as you can't really lose it. You just choose whether you like Elise more or Amy more, with me going with the obvious choice. Once we finally get to the next stage, Sonic gets ambushed by Eggman's robots before being saved by Silver. I guess when Shadow spoke to him, he must have knocked some sense into him. Which is good, because now he's on our side. And, luckily, we even have him help us as we chase Eggman's ship through Kingdom Valley. Unfortunately, they aren't fast enough to catch up before Eggman's ship crashes, as Silver, Sonic, and... Oh, hey Blaze, I almost forgot you were in this game. Anyway, they watch as the ship goes down. Something went wrong, somehow, to cause the ship to crash, with Sonic and Silver deciding that they might be able to use the chaos-controlled time travel trick again to save them. But instead of Silver following Sonic to make sure he doesn't fuck up, he goes back to his future. No one in this game has two brain cells to rub together, and it bothers me. Silver wants to make sure his future is a better place, so you would think he would follow Sonic to make sure that would happen. As for Sonic, if he can use the ability to time travel at will, then why not use it earlier? Even if it's not exact, it would still be useful. Hell, you could use it to wait for Eggman and ambush him. I mean, what, you'd be off by a few seconds? That's nothing. Let's just get this story over with. After traveling back in time and chasing Eggman through his secret base here, we finally confront him before his ship is supposed to crash, and we save Elise, thus ending Sonic's story in this mess. Before I move on to the other stories, I do want to talk about Sonic's playstyle here, just real quick. For starters, I have to give the game some credit. Instead of Sonic Heroes or Shadows' clunky gameplay style, which I didn't hate, but it could have been better, this game returns to Sonic Adventure style, even going back as to bring hub worlds that were in Sonic Adventure 1. Unfortunately, they're a pain. It's extremely easy to get lost just trying to find a stage or one of the side missions. Hell, I think I got circled around 5 times just doing the one side mission that requires you to find 5 random kids in Soliana. That's not even beginning to mention the abysmal loading screens. If you want to see the worst this game has to offer, try Aristo's Challenge. Several loading screens for a single mission. And on top of that, every time he talks, you have to load the area again. Even though this mission can take less than a minute, you're spending maybe upwards to 5 waiting for the loading screens to finish. This mission alone will make anybody loathe doing any of the side missions, despite the fact that they are necessary to get upgrades in this game. On top of that, you have to deal with the game's overly clunky controls. As you're moving Sonic, every time you tilt the analog stick, Sonic makes a 90-degree turn in any direction you move him in, and that can lead you to falling into bottomless pits or off a cliff when you never intended that. It's hard to be precise. You would think Sonic Team would have blueprints on how to make a good 3D platformer because they did Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. And yeah, the SA1 and 2 remakes on GameCube weren't perfect, but even those were still enjoyable. But here, it's like they took everything that was good about those games and somehow forgot about them. To be fair, this game was rushed, and I mean rushed to hell and back. They were forced to release this for the 15th anniversary of Sonic with absolutely no exceptions. The only ones that they technically had was the PC version, which, yes, was intended to come out, got cancelled, and the Wii version ended up becoming Sonic and the Secret Rings. Even if they only focused on just one gameplay style, that's still not enough time to polish this game. I mean, worst comes to worst, if they didn't have to worry about Shadow or Silver's gameplay styles and just focused on Sonic, it could have turned out like, say, Sonic Frontiers did when that launched. Yeah, it was kind of buggy and had a lot of different problems, but for a lot of people, myself included, Sonic Frontiers is one of their favorite Sonic games. Honestly, the whole development just kind of saddens me. I guess I can talk about the development of this game later. The quicker we get out of here, the better.